Now, saying that God cursed Adam, right, and Eve is like saying that a mother that told her child that is sleeping around without protection, her daughter maybe, say, you will get pregnant too, you will carry HIV, is cursing her. She's not cursing her, she's telling her the consequences of her reckless action, right? So you see in scriptures, like for those people that say, oh, no, God did not curse Adam. When Adam and Eve ate the fruit. Of course, we know it's not apple, but that's another story for another day. When they began to fellowship with the enemy and began to, fellowship with another life, another type of life in variance of what he had for them. And when they, came into another site as a result of the fellowship they had, of course, he was telling them, Nakai, things were supposed to be so easy, guys. Things were supposed to be like this. But now, because of this type of life, this lower type of life, that is a fallen type of life, these are the consequences of what you're going to face. Oh, and there's so much connotation to maybe on another video I'll talk about dust to dust, ashes to ashes. It's not what we quote at burials. It doesn't really literally mean dust to dust, ashes to ashes, like literal dust. And that's, by the way. So what was God trying to say? That Kai, things were supposed to be easy for you. The type of man, because the new creation man was what Adam was supposed to evolve into, right? And become, as it were, just by gazing or fellowshipping around the tree of life and looking at fellowshipping God. But he partook another kind of life. And because of that, we see the kind of fall, even many things that we experience, even something as little as plate breaking, death, yes, sicknesses, even things like corruption, like eating an apple, going back to apple now, or any fruit at all, and it actually decays, or living food and it decays, all kinds of corruption, every spectrum that you've deemed normal. These were not things that are supposed to be normal. Although Jesus came to, bring the restoration and redeem man from the curse, because curse is every man that hung on a tree. So there's restoration. So you shouldn't go about expecting death in your life, because there's redemption now. So you should insist on what Christ has done, because someone can have 10 million in their bank account and they are nowhere, still living like a pauper. It's the same way. If you're not aware of these things, you will still remain under what you have been liberated from, what Jesus has reversed, as it were, and brought us back to this God life, to this eternal life, to this new creation life. So our job is to actually keep gazing on him and explore. That's the essence of the Christian life. That's the end of prayer, is consciousness. The end of meditation is consciousness. The end of declaration is consciousness. They're not an end in themselves. They're a means to an end, to bring us back to. I love, maybe I'm going to add it. I love the quotation on Mirror Translation that says, my soul remembers who I am at the still waters. Oh my goodness. We're supposed to remember who we are. So, guys, God is not responsible for natural disasters. It's not an act of God. He's not responsible for all the things that we blame him for, or for all the wickedness that we see. It's the fall. And by the fall, even the earth has an intelligence. I've spoken about this once before, but just want to run a brief through, that tilts in distortion, in misalignment, because the earth was not made like that. When it sees distortion, it twists in the contortion, in the things that men, I don't want to go into the sacrifices and the bloodshed and wickedness that have gone on this earth, and that's why it's tilting. But the new creation man, and actually do some, although the mainstream media might hide these things from you, but they are getting prevalent day by day, just the way people are encountering angels and saints. It's the same way that people have been plagued by natural disasters and have used the power, because they understand the authority of Christ in them, and say, no, not my house, not my family, do not touch me. And you see a whole widespread of, because of ignorance, and that's why the gospel has to really propagate. You see a whole widespread of, please, only one man, which is not supposed to be the case right now, but by God's grace, as the light increases, many people come into that. Only one man, his house will be saved in a hurricane, in all that. But at the more we come into his light, in his light we see light. We see how we were meant to be before the foundations of the world. And we no longer accept these base elements, this, low life that the enemy has tried to deceive. The biggest trick of the enemy is just distortion, is a trick to keep you in a life that is not yours. So once you received, what does it mean to be born again? What people call about born again is receiving the very life of God, the very nature of God. And the moment you gaze in study, in meditation, in scripture about what you have received, Kai, something happens to you, guys.